Hey, before we're live, but before anyone really gets on here, there is a brother. Um, I'll go ahead and mention his name because I asked him if it was okay. Lance Candler's house burned down. Do you know Lance Candler?
No.
Really great brother in North Texas, and his house, like his family's fine and everything, but their house burned to the ground. I guess last night where they were gone. There's a GoFundMe going around. I was wondering if you were fine with me sharing that on the live, just to
Yeah,
kind
that's
of okay.
that's fine.
It's not normally how we roll, but I figure if we could be force for good in that aspect, we're not frying fish or anything, are we? We're just asking people to actually practice Masonic charity. So
Well, the only thing that bothers me though is that it's not just Masons.
yeah, I don't think he'll turn down the money from non-masons.
Well, I know, but
Yeah,
really, his brothers should step up, especially his local brothers should step up first.
I agree, and
The insurance will cover a lot. He'll if he probably has a 1% deductible, so it's that's usually the cheapest in the way that most people go. But even with that, today's houses 300,000. It's only $3,000. So
yeah,
brothers should be able to come up with that. And then the rest of it, hotels and all that goes on the insurance. They
yeah.
cover it.
I'm actually looking for the post because it was like a thing for meals. I don't know. Can't find it now. So I may not share it anyway because I can't find the GoFundMe again. But anyway, but yeah. So if I find it, I'll mention if anyone. Oh, here it is. It's called a meal
Yeah,
train.
I'm not trying to downplay, the situation. I mean, it's a bad situation,
It's called a
but
meal train. I don't have a clue what meal train is. And then they have the GoFundMe, which the fund page isn't accessible. So I don't
meal
even have a,
train is where they go ahead.
I don't even have a link to the. Oh, there's a link for the GoFundMe. So yeah, I'll share it when we get some people hopped on, and then if they want to contribute, that's an option for them. Let's see. Okay, Citizen Z, hello brothers, Alabama FNAM 521. Hope all is well. Hello, Citizen Z, and
That's where
Adam
I was born.
Adam
Redstone
Olivier.
Arsenal, Huntsville, Alabama.
Howdy, Adam. Good to see you.
How are you, brother Olivier?
So,
Glad you're on.
did you how the tickets sell for your festive board, Adam? I was curious. I wanted to go, but I'm not traveling to College Station anytime too soon. I'm going to also while y'all are typing, I'm going to share the link for. So if y'all didn't catch, we had a brother. His family suffered a house fire, and there's a GoFundMe going around. The insurance may, I don't know. I don't want to assume it's going to cover a lot, right? And does that cover like your home stuff, like, you know what I mean, like
The
your.
value of your
Oh,
all your personal
well,
belongings
I
up
mean,
to a certain amount. Yes.
oh, it does. Okay,
Yes.
good. So I'll share the link if you feel inclined to share something to.
Usually, it, go ahead. Finish your thought.
No, it's all good.
I was just going to expand on that. Usually, the the insurance will cover all the valuables you have, the stuff like your jewelry and things like that. If you don't have it appraised, then they're not going to cover it.
Uh huh.
If they'll give you have if you have proof. The biggest thing is you have to have proof of having it, and then if it's something of real value, it needs to be appraised, and you need to have that certificate of authenticity.
I got you.
We
I'm going to shorten that URL because that's a long URL.
In fact, I need to update mine with a lot of the books that I have because I haven't done that lately. I've gotten
Oh, that's me. That's my internet. Can you hear me? Hello. Oh boy. Can you hear me?
um yeah.
Okay.
Now I
I
can. You
lost
went
connection.
away.
I meant to tell you
Oh, so,
there's a thunderstorm, like a bad thunderstorm going on right now. So
oh,
like
okay.
everything froze up for a second. It's like, oh my gosh, did I lose internet?
Yeah,
So,
you completely went off the screen, so I knew that I was gone.
oh, okay.
But what I was going to say is I hosted or I taught the program on officer leadership training for insurance and liabilities. Um, One of the easiest things that you can do every once in a while is go around the house and just make a recording. So you start outside and you just walk into your house and you're recording everything with your phone and and taking note of everything in your house, taking a good survey of what's in your house. If it's something special like an antique or something or a special, you know, grandfather clock or whatever, you want to make sure and say that while you're doing it, and make that around your whole house, and that way there's proof of what you had in your house, and that's the easiest way you can protect yourself with insurance to get your maximum money back. And then on anything that has a serial number, just take a picture of it. That's
That's
all you got to do. Just take those pictures and save them and keep them in a file, and you keep them. And that's one things that you would want to keep in the cloud as well as on an external hard drive that's in a fireproof safe. um, that way you have those things, you have a backup, you always want a backup. So I do that. I strongly recommend it. I have that on all my rental properties in case anything happens. That way I get my money,
Yeah,
because I've seen too many people lose too much to insurance companies, and that's just a travesty.
that's a
They
great point.
they they hurt us every other day. They're good when they're good, but when you really need them, they're usually not. And so protect yourself.
Yeah, that's good. Adam said they sold more tickets for their festival board than did last year. They said they sold 25. So that is
Very
really good.
nice.
That is good. I think
I'm sorry I wasn't able to. I just had a time difference. I'm
yeah.
sorry. I'm not
I'm
too
gonna be going
far.
to
I could
Austin.
drive there,
I'm gonna
but
be going to Austin later this summer, and then Masonic Con is gonna be in August. I'll be going there, which isn't far from me, but it's just gonna be all day. And so I wanted to go. I'm there in spirit. I was at the last one. I think the one where Robert Marshall talked. I went there, and that was a really good talk. Robert's always a good speaker. So, but I don't know,
Mhm.
man. Like I went to a an EA degree yesterday in Waco, and the plan was I was going to go to the EA degree, and then afterwards I was going to hop on over to the
AMD.
AMD day, and the degree started a little bit later than I thought I was going to. It was like lunchtime, which isn't terribly late, but I was like, I really don't know. Like, I was like, I'll just go home. So, I don't know. I had big plans, and it was a really good EA degree. Like Waco 92, if anyone ever has been curious, they do an excellent job with their degrees, and so I always enjoy going and seeing those. But yeah, by the time we were done with that, and I was like, I really don't feel like going to AMD Day and sitting through more degrees. So I wanted to see a lot of the
Speaking
guys
of
there, but I just didn't. I just didn't do it.
speaking of doing an excellent job on degrees, um, I talked to brother Mike King from Corpus Christi. He's also on the Knights of Mecca degree team, which is from Hella Shrine up in the Dallas area. Um, and they actually have this club, and it's just a degree team, and they do degrees around state or whatever in full costume. So they're coming down on the Lexington to do the degree for us. And after speaking with Mike, I think I'm going to get him on and one of the members of the Knights of Mecca, other members from up north, and see if we can get them on the show and talk about it.
That'd be good.
Because the one thing about the Knights of Mecca is that the degree you see is going to be precisely what Texas Ritual is supposed to be. That's how serious they are about their craft and what they're doing and what they're taking to other lodges.
They're on point.
So, yes. So when you come down for this, to when you travel all that distance to come down for our summit, you're really, when you see this degree, it's really going to be a premier degree, and there's no variance from what Texas ritual is supposed to be, because it is the way it's supposed to be.
They're so good. In fact, usually when you go and see a degree, even if it's a really good degree, you'll still have people that kind of hiccup, right? Or they'll need a prompt, or they'll have to back up and start over, something like that. Even if you really know it, like I don't remember seeing any of that last year. Like
Right.
any of that. Like it was. Yes, it's a Blue Lodge degree. It's a Master Mason's degree, but it's held upon the USS Lexington in Corpus Christi, and it's an annual thing. So once a year, the Knights of Mecca will come, and it's just the name of the group that it's just the name of the degree team. It's not like something separate than anything else. But the Knights of Mecca is the name of the degree team, and they'll go to Corpus Christi and confer the Master Mason's degree upon this ship. And it's really impressive. It's really cool. And this year it's going to be in conjunction. It's the same day as the summit, the Masonic Improvement Summit, Building a Better Brotherhood, that we're hosting in Corpus also. So if anyone's interested in any or all of it, the best thing to do is get a ticket and go to the summit. We have some excellent speakers. In fact, one just dropped today with Robert Park. I don't know if you listened to it yet, Dennis, but it was fire. It's really good.
I know, and I've already talked to Chris and Brad both, and they said, "Oh, what a fantastic interview! Y'all are doing such a good job."
Good, yeah.
And that makes me extremely proud, coming from my two top mentors.
Yeah, it was excellent.
They're actually Robert's mentors too, so it's really special hearing that from them, for me, anyways.
Yeah. So we'll have Robert Parks, Brad Kohanke, Chris Williams, Kyle Walquest, Lucas Minton,
Steve
Almager. I was like, how do you say his last name? Steve Almager. Who else?
How many
more
was
that we
that?
haven't
Was that
announced
7?
yet? I think I count 6.
Okay.
And then
And number 7 is the one we haven't announced yet,
Okay.
and then we have number 8 that will show up, and he'll be there for the whole thing, but he's going to give a little bit of a talk or stir up some conversation during the festive board.
Yeah.
That's what he likes to do.
Yeah.
He doesn't like to really lecture or give talks. He likes to do questions and answers with people, just stir up conversation.
So after those presentations, we have the festive board, like Dennis is talking about, with another. I don't know if you call them like a mini lecture or just a bonus lecture. Let's go bonus lecture. Bonus lecture during the lecture.
But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more. And then we're all going to get together and go to the Master Mason's degree upon the USS Lexington. But wait, there's more. And then after that, we're right on the beach. Like the hotel's right on the beach. USS Lexington. It's a boat, so obviously it's right on the beach. The shrine is not far from where the meal and the presentation is going to take place. So anyway, after the degree's over, we'll retire, depending on the weather. We'll retire to the beach or the hotel.
Well, and depending on how you feel about it, if you want to be
Yeah.
in the air conditioning, we'll be at the bottom of the hotel.
Yeah.
If you want to be next to the waves, then we'll be out there. There's plenty of area to smoke cigars and drink scotch.
There'll be lots of great conversations and whatever else suits you.
Lots of
afterwards.
libations.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm telling you, I'm going to be drinking. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah. But that will not be part of the official.
My party,
the official.
and I'll drink if I want to.
So anyway, it's going to be a great time. And I was actually looking at I was just comparing prices, because the tickets from SonicCon is like $120 when you buy it through Eventbrite. And then I was looking at Masonicon, another great event, and for their dinner and their presentations, I think it was by the time you're done paying on Eventbrite, I think it was like $174 or something. So for everything you get, it's a great price. You still got to pay for your hotel, which you would still have to do at Masonicon. You still got to pay for travel, which you would also do for Masonicon. So it's I mean, just looking at the ticket price alone,
what's $174? That's Masonicon, right?
Masonicon. Look, you can just buy a ticket for the presentations, which is like $65 or something. But if you want to do the festive board and the presentations, which you might as well, right? The festive board is $100. So and by the time Eventbrite taxed their prices on, you're paying like $170. And I mean, I'm just comparing prices, right? I'm not saying
right
don't go there
because
it's more expensive.
he'll actually be at Masonicon.
I'm going to Masonicon. Yeah,
I won't have a chance to go. I love Masonicon.
I just thought it was interesting. I was just comparing it. I'm probably not going to go to the festive board just because I'm going to be gone all day. I'm going to come home to my family.
Right.
But when you're comparing everything like that, I mean, this is a lot of bang for your buck. So it's well worth it. David Lawson's here. He says hello, David, brother Lawson.
Hey, David, how are you?
Citizen Z says it's getting bad. That he's going to hop off. Catch us again. All right, man. Stay safe with the weather. He said it was getting some pretty nasty weather over there in Alabama, so he's having to hop off. Yeah. So speaking of that, did you listen to it yet, Dennis? The interview with David Lawson. I mean, David Lawson, yeah. Robert. With Robert.
Yes.
You did the whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was tearing apart the kitchen for my rent house over on North Street, and while I was doing that, I was listening to that. That's what I usually do. I always listen to podcasts and especially ours, and so that's what I do whenever I'm working on something or whatever. So yes, of course I do.
Do you listen on YouTube or do you listen to it on the podcast?
I listen on the podcast.
The podcast. I see.
I see.
Was there? Yeah. So you listened to the last one, right? Let me pull it up. The previous one.
No, wait. I had to listen to this one on YouTube. I don't think it's on the podcast.
It's on podcast.
When I looked at it didn't show up for me. So
maybe you hadn't updated. It sends everything out, so it might not be like immediate because it sends it out to Spotify and all.
Right. I think there may be a delay.
I was just curious because I published the last one with no ads. I was in a hurry. So I was just curious if it made a difference as you're listening or not. So that's all.
Of course it does.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
If there's no ads. That's a bonus.
Yeah, it's actually kind of a nuisance to put ads on Anchor. You gotta manually place them. I was like, I don't got time for that. Hello, Oscar Cordova. Welcome. David Lawson says he's doing great, but it's hot. Man, it's been hot here too. I have yard work I've been putting off for quite a while just because it's been so hot.
Oh my gosh.
I might break a sweat, and we can't have that. So what's been on your mind there, Dennis? Masonically.
I think I've been thinking a lot about two separate topics, and a lot of y'all saw the posts on Texas Freemasons.
You know what? I need to go pull that up where you're talking about it because I still haven't seen it.
One was for our Masters Elect. Just a note of encouragement and well, the first one I did was saying that if you're going to have speakers, you need to get them now. You need to start searching them out now because once you're elected, they'll all be booked up. I guarantee you. I'm already booked up through April of next year. No, the year. Is it next year or?
I don't know. Is it?
No, the April of 2025. I mean, I can add people in, but I've got one every.
I'm actually not booked.
Hell, I'm going to Mathis tomorrow, Portland the next day, and then the next week I'm going to Gregory and Aransas Pass or Rockport, one or the other. I can't remember. Man. But I'm going to several different lodges right now, and it's a busy time. But
nice.
The other one was talking about leaving the lodge better than you found it. You know, the And it's funny, Jeremy Lacrone, and I love Jeremy. Don't get me wrong. He said, um, first and foremost, he needs to keep the charter. It's like, Jeremy, if that's the if that's the standard, what the are they
Yeah,
doing?
I
I mean, that's the absolute minimum. Yeah, of course they need to keep the charter, but really, why do they need to keep the charter? If they're doing that little that's actually a thought, then shut the doors. But anyways, that's just me.
I've heard
That's
someone
just
say
me.
that
But
before
the
too, and it's just like, if yeah, I mean, you're setting the bar super low. If you set the bar super low, you accomplish very little.
but I was putting on there, what my Blue Lodge mentor told me, and that was, if it's good for the lodge, do it. If it's not, don't. Leave it better than you found it. And if you don't ruffle any feathers, you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
That's and I went and spoke. I went and visited with him yesterday. We sat on the porch and talked for a while and talked about all our local lodges and things and he was still saying the same thing.
Jess Rockenberg says his schedule's wide open for speaking. So if any lodges want to get the
In
Rockenberg
case you want to
experience,
know, about secretarianism, for being a secretary. Just kidding, just kidding. Jason gives excellent talks on Scottish Rite Freemasonry as well as York Rite Freemasonry. Jason is a very insightful person. He's one of my best friends and companions, and as well as Scottish Rite brother, and couldn't do Freemasonry without Jason. I love Jason,
David
even though he
Lawson.
gives me shit.
David Lawson says protocol question. He's curious what is appropriate on paying a speaker's expense to come to lodge. We've only had a couple, and he doesn't know what's normal. So I'll, for one, before I say anything, Adam Olivier, he's still here. He just commented. His lodge gets a lot of speakers, so I'm curious how his lodge handles speakers. I would say this: ideally, your lodge would reimburse for gas, right? And if the guy has to get a hotel,
And a hotel.
yeah, if
Yeah.
the guy has to get a hotel, ideally the lodge would cover that. I've traveled before, and the lodge offered to cover the hotel room. They didn't offer the gas or anything, but they offered the hotel room. And I mean, if we're talking ideal situation, he's doing a courtesy for your lodge, right? Um, you should reimburse him for the travel and everything. Is that always the expectation or the norm? No, no, it's not. I think at a minimum, if you do a donation jar for dinner, you should offer to give it to him, right? Or offer to pay a set amount just to just kind of offset some of the cost. But if they're traveling really far, I'd say probably 4 hours or more. Really should consider your options as far as how you can reimburse them if you really want them to come speak. But some
Most
people,
lodges.
I was
Go
going to say,
ahead.
some people, like some brothers will say, no, I don't want anything anyway. Right? They're like, you don't
Right.
have to reimburse me. It's fine. I'm doing it out of a passion or as a service or whatever. And great, more power to them. But that's not to say that if they do ask for it, that you should, if they don't, great. If they do, then you should be willing to offer something.
Well, I think you should. If proper etiquette is actually offering without them having to ask. If you're asking somebody to speak, then you're saying that
Well, no,
you're wanting them. Well, no, don't interrupt me. It's my turn. If you're asking someone to speak, you're asking them to give up their time away from their family, their time away from their own lodges, their gas, as well as their expense if they need to stay in a hotel. Proper etiquette is to offer. If you're asking someone to speak, you should be prepared to offer, um, if it looks like it's going to be an inconvenience to them to come up. I have five engagements right now where I have lodging paid for as well as my expenses. The However, on several of them, I've already told them just send somebody to the summit. Don't worry about me. Send somebody to the summit. But people that, but I do it a lot different too because I actually write to the lodge. So whatever the master says he would like, whatever message the master wants to go out to the lodge, I'll write on that and present that to the lodge. And so I'm actually performing the full function for them. I'm not just giving a canned speech that I wrote up to give to everybody across Texas. This is specific to the lodge. And many brothers do that. And so the brothers that do that kind of work, they're investing a lot of time and research in creating that presentation. And then on top of that, coming and doing it. So proper etiquette is to be prepared to pay and ask them, what their fee is, or offer them that up front that, look, we're willing to pay for your gas and your hotel because we know it's a long trip and it's a long drive home. It's a burden to you. But a lot of times a lot of it is just said, don't worry about it. Justin's right. A lot of times most speakers will say, don't worry about it. But sometimes it gets tight, having to pay for all that. So it's actually a relief and helps out the speakers. So if you think it's a value to you and the lodge, man, who can't afford $5 per person to have a speaker come in? Mm-hmm. If you've got 20 people in your lodge, or if you plan to have 30 people. I'm going to Washington in April, and they've got an Airbnb ready for me. They're packing the lodge, getting them ready so that it's worth the money for me to come up there and do it.
Nice. Yeah. I was just gonna say, like, I'm not suggesting, like, if you're a speaker, don't ask for anything, right? Like, it's proper etiquette. Like, I agree, it's proper etiquette. Like, offer. And what I was basically trying to say is, if you offer, and one speaker says, no, that's good, and then the next speaker accepts it, don't think less of him because he's accepting
right.
it. Don't offer without really expecting to follow through. Everybody's different. Everybody's in a different situation. For one guy, it may be big deal to travel 4 hours. He may have family he wants to see, or it may be on the beach and he wants to go there anyway. But for another guy, it may be, hey, I'm really pushed for time. This is going to kind of cost me. You should reimburse me in some way. Adam Olivier says over at, not St. Albans, at Sol Ross, they offer a hotel for their speakers for the festival boards and events, and they'll also give them a gift of some sort, buying them gas as fare, or offering to reimburse them for airfare too. Yeah, I think if you're offering some kind of compensation, like if you're offering a hotel room, and frankly, if you're doing a festive board, I think it's crappy if you guys come speak at a festive board, you don't give them a meal, right? So if you're coming and speaking, you're getting a meal, you're getting a hotel.
Well, if you're doing a festive board, you should be putting that into the cost of your festive board. Yeah. So it's really not, you're really not out anything.
That's very
you're
good point.
Getting that paid for. So that's very fair to, and you should really pay somebody if you're doing a festive board type situation.
Yeah.
If you're making money off of it, you should be offering to pay.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely. But thank you for your
feedback, I'm not
Adam.
saying everybody pays when I go. I give presentations all the time at no charge.
Yeah. No, if I was going out of state, I probably need something, like an Airbnb or something. But like when I traveled to San Antonio, it wasn't San Antonio, but it's practically San Antonio.
Bernie,
yeah. I went down there and gave my presentation and turned around and hopped in the car and drove back. Right? It was just cost me just time and gas. So
not me, man. I stayed in the hotel.
Did you?
Awesome. They're little cabins in this little. It's right in town, in the middle of town, and they're little themed cabins or little houses per se. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool little place. I enjoyed it.
Nice. Charles Smith's here. He says, "What's up? Hope everybody's having a great night. Thanks for hopping on, Charles."
Well, hello.
William says he is
William who?
Probably Batters, if I had to guess.
Say what he says, and I can tell you.
It says he's on the calendar at Perfect Union again. Whoop whoop. Is that you?
Yes, I am.
Nice.
That's me.
And David Lawson.
And that is William.
David Lawson says he's right on the same page with us. So, yeah. I mean, if you're asking someone to provide value, it's only fair to provide reimbursement, provide value back.
Yeah.
We talked about this before. We have this kind of superstition, I guess, about Masons asking for reimbursement for their contributions to the fraternity, and we need to kind of get by that. We need to get past that. There was a time when there was traveling lecturers, like they would travel around and you'd reimburse them to come lecture at your lodge.
Well, that was a paid job at one time.
There was a time when there were, and I'm not suggesting this was good, but just to point out, there was a time when some lodges were initiating and putting so many people through degrees, they had to pay the teacher to teach these guys the catechism because he couldn't hold a full-time job because there was so many people going through. There was a time when we paid our secretaries to do their job, right? It wasn't a full-time job, but we paid them, we reimbursed them, and somehow we got to this mindset where all we could do was take. We have to take in, but we can't give back unless we're giving back for a scholarship to the community. But really, the first people we should be giving back to is who?
The brothers.
Exactly.
Come on, guys. And that's the thing that was another thing that I posted this that was pretty controversial is, I'm at the point now, I am so frustrated that we are doing all these superficial charities or I should say marketing under the guise of charity, and just to try to get people's attention on us, saying that we're doing all these good things, and yet we're not helping our brothers that are in need. If there's a brother that goes, that can't pay his dues, there's probably a reason, and you should be in better touch with that brother and know those needs and see what you can do to help as a brother, not just leaving him to the side, oh, he's just, whatever, especially if it's a brother that shows up all the time and then all of a sudden he can't pay his dues. Something happened.
Yep.
And we should be cognizant of that and be taking care of our brothers. Our brothers should come first. When we do our scholarships, if you have brothers that put their children in, or a close relative, I'm not saying second cousins, mother's brothers or anything, but you have family within your immediate family that submits for a scholarship, those brothers' kids should go first. Always go first, because that's what this fraternity was founded on. It was not founded on giving money to the rest of the world. It was founded on taking care of each other and supporting each other and lifting each other up. Sorry, you got me on my soapbox because I've been pretty frustrated over that lately. It's been a thorn in my side for the past couple of weeks.
Well, we talked about it, I think on the last live or maybe one of the last episodes.
Maybe.
And I mean, you're right. You're 100% right. It's a paradigm, right? We have to. Paradigms have to be shifted, right? Because the paradigm's the way your viewpoint is. We have to shift that paradigm back towards it's okay. Hey, if I'm selling hats, and I live in the United States, it's okay for me to sell my hats and make money as a Mason, right? If I patch roofs and a lodge needs their roof patched, it's okay for me to charge my regular rate to the lodge because that's my usual vocation. I use it to feed my family. Yes. You're just offering you don't offer jobs to Masons because you get a discount. You offer jobs to Masons because you are supporting them in their usual vocation. That's why.
Absolutely. And we don't join to do that. That's not the purpose, but it is one of the things that we are called to do once we have joined.
Yep.
That we should take care of our own. There was my mother-in-law used to say years ago, family first. Take care of family first.
Mm-hmm.
You feed the family first. Well, we call people brothers for a reason.
Yeah.
They're our family.
Yep.
And so you take care of them first and you don't question it. I mean,
I mean, you still take
if
care
they're
of your,
doing stupid,
if it comes
they're
down
doing
to your
stupid.
children or something, yeah, you take care of like your immediate blood family as a priority. But second to that, your brothers.
Brothers.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
We've strayed away from that, I think, in a lot of ways.
I think we've got to making brother such a
generic term,
or made it so mundane that we don't really appreciate or understand the relevance really that was intended by calling someone. It's the same way for some reason a lot of churches they call each other brother and sister. It's because you're like it's supposed to be like a family under your faith, like united like family under your faith. But we're obviously not a religion, right? But when we initiate people and they become brothers, it's a similar mentality. Like they're family now, right? Otherwise, you would just call them, hey, member Dennis, right? I mean,
member number 389.
Yeah, like, that's what the Stonecutters did on The Simpsons. They call these like
right,
like, member 389 or whatever. But
and they would put their number on what they were working on. That's real.
But that's why we call each other brother, and that's why you have to be careful who you let in, because it's like if you could adopt everybody that was into your family, right? You would be very careful. Like if you were like given a blank slate, it's like, okay, you got to pick your family, but you got to be careful. You'd be very careful about who you picked as your family, right? Because you know you're going to be obligated to them by familial bonds the rest of your life. Love them or hate them, right? I got family like I really can't stand to be around, but if push comes to shove, I'm still gonna be there for them, right? So you have to be really careful, because you could, just like a family, you can have one or two members and they'll bring everybody else down, right? They'll bring the whole family down, and I've seen that firsthand. I had an uncle that he did something very stupid and it affected the entire family. And so my point is, when you are building that family of brothers, building that network of brothers, that's why it's so important to be careful about who you're letting into your club, who you're starting to call brother, because you're obligated to them. And it's not as long as I like them or as long as we get along or anything like that, right? That's not the obligation anywhere, right? It's your brothers, no ifs, ands, or buts. And unless they're kicked out of the fraternity, you're brothers. And you could say, well, they're more of a member than a Mason, and there's a lot of people like that. But at the end of the day, they still take the same obligation as you. And you're still obligated to them as much as they are obligated to you. And they may not act on it like they should, but that doesn't mean it's not still your responsibility.
Good point. And I'd also like to tie back into what you were saying about talking about church. Even our little country town of 1,800 people, the pastors here make over $100,000.
Holy cow! Literal holy cow!
Over $100,000 a year.
What?
Yeah. Now, back in the day, when back in the 1800s, and I know this for a fact because I had to research. I've been researching a brother that was a pastor and as well as an educator. They had to. That's why you saw a lot of them that were educators and did other kind of work, because you weren't allowed to get paid to be a preacher. Now, man, it's a big deal.
It was often the same building anyway.
Now,
like the church in your school was often the same place, so might as well just teach.
Right. And what's interesting is that we will give our tithes to church. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. We should definitely support what we're in, right?
Mm-hmm.
We give our tithes to our church, but are we willing to give for the lecturer that comes in to extend light to your life? Even though we're not, preachers of the cloth, we're still delivering a message of light to your lodge that we wrote specifically for you,
Yeah.
just like the pastor does every week. That's his main job, is writing that one thing. Now, he does a lot of other things, but really, does he do a lot of other things? He does go and visit people at the hospital and stuff like that. He's the shepherd of the flock. But really, you have a board of deacons that handles the business aspect. And the pastor is really, his job is being the shepherd of the flock and coming up with sermons. So if we're willing to pay that guy, and rightfully so, don't get me wrong here. If we're willing to pay that guy, why are you not willing to pay a brother who would come either way to do this for you, and help a brother out, man?
Yeah, wholeheartedly agree. Pass the hat. Pass the hat if you don't want to give them the
Don't do it
the food donation.
That just makes it an awkward situation. But yeah, pass the hat.
Why they do it in church with the preacher sitting there watching the hat?
I don't want anybody passing the hat in front of me. Don't do that.
Yeah, but I was also thinking as you're talking about that, like some people, they'll go to church once a week, right? They'll drop $20 or $30 in the offering tray. If they go on Wednesdays, they probably will drop a little bit more. I mean, that's, if you drop $20 a week, that's what, $100? No, $80 a month times 12 months.
What if you're dedicated to your church and you give the 10% that the Bible says?
Yeah. Well, my point is,
I'm more than $20 a week, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I know for sure.
And
it's a lot more than $20 a week.
I'm not suggesting that anyone donate 10% to the lodge or anything, but
I would.
But I mean, that's if you did $20 a week at your church, right? 4 times a week. That's $960 a year, right? I mean, if you just did 10,
that's it.
That's it. I mean, if you just did $10 a week, that's $480. But will we charge $200 a year for lodge? People lose their minds, right? I mean, it's you could say, well, I go to church every week, and it's spiritual is more important than lodge, and I can get that, and I can respect that, right? But if it's something important to you,
Freemasonry is a spiritual journey.
Oh, that's a good point too. That's a good point.
I can't get that.
You're right. That's a good point.
I had to say it.
That's fine. But my point is, like, we're just so cheap about the fraternity. Like, could you imagine if people donated to the lodge like they donate to the churches? Like, we wouldn't have the problem. We wouldn't have the concern, right? I mean, our buildings would be taken care of. We'd have nice buildings, right? And
the difference is we don't offer salvation.
We don't. That's true. But you can't buy salvation.
Well, yeah,
anyway.
but a lot, exactly, and that's what I was getting at. That was a bad joke. I apologize for all you churchgoers out there. You know I love you. You know I go to church. I'm just creating good conversation.
I was actually thinking, and this was during our conversation with Brother Park, because we were talking about the buildings, like how we don't necessarily, we got to kind of get the institution runs the buildings. The building shouldn't run the institution, right? And I think there's two ways a lodge needs to go, right? There's 2 ways a building needs to be. Either the building needs to be tucked away, right? Relatively like kind of mysterious, like it's like you got to know where it's at to get there, and it's just kind of small, but it's intimate, and it's kind of, I don't know, like almost like quiet, spooky kind of thing. Or it needs to be like really nice. There's nothing in between. It shouldn't be like a metal fabricated building on the edge of town, right? It needs to either be a very nice building or a very small, nondescript kind of you wouldn't suspect it to be there kind of thing, where you bring people in, have your degrees, right? Just kind of quieten away, go do your dinner somewhere else or something.
Brother Smith subscribes to doing the smart thing. Their lodge uses the Scottish Rite building up in Lubbock. And I think that even that is better than both of those other two options, because then you get rid of those assets that you have, and it creates a big bankroll. You take it to the Scottish Rite building, which in itself is a freaking
Well, that's
mysterious
that's the
building.
second
If
option.
you if
That's
you
the
look
second
at if
option.
you, right, if you look at most of your Scottish Rite buildings, they're mysterious, man. They're
Hmm.
cool. I mean, you go to
That's a good
ours, you
point
go
too.
downtown to ours, and it looks like it's like a an opera house or something like that. I mean, it's just elegant.
I mean, could you
And
imagine how much stronger the fraternity and these organizations would be if they, like what you're talking about, if you have access to a Scottish Rite building within driving distance, why would you not meet there? Right?
yeah,
I mean, it's got to
yeah.
be beautiful. It's got to be awesome. It's got to provide more eye candy than what your current lodge is, and
And you have more resources in one concentrated place,
yeah.
more people in one concentrated place to get more done.
And if you're worried about dues, I think if dues is like a huge thing, I've always like I'm not one to shy away from higher dues, but I also don't think they need to just be arbitrarily higher either. Like cover the operating cost of your lodge. Ideally, it should cover the operating cost of your lodge, whatever meal prices, and then enough to for like a nest egg to build up, right? And and same thing with your degree fees, like to cover the cost of everything, and then whatever the perceived value is of those degrees. But if my point is like if you don't want to pay like $400 dues to cover the cost of your lodge, merge, not merge, but meet in another building and keep your dues where they just cover those costs. So you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, two of the lodges that Barry, I mean not Barry, that's his dad. William is a part of, Perfect Union as well as Triune. Both of them share buildings. So Triune shares with another lodge, and uh, Perfect Union meets in the Scottish Rite building.
Hmm.
Perfect Union's lodge is magnificent. It's a beautiful, beautiful lodge room. I love that
I've heard
lodge room.
good things. I just think
The
I just think you find
and,
whatever the
and Triune is nice also. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that I love the fact that you go in and you feel like you're there for something different than the same old same.
yeah. Um, but not every lodge has easy access to like a scholarship building or something. Just find the nicest building in your district, or the biggest building in your district, and
Right.
meet there. I'm not saying merge. I never said merge. Right? You meet there, and you work collaboratively to make to level up the that building. Right? This is our building. We're all gonna take pride in it. It's already very large. Um, so we'll work together. We'll get the roofs fixed. We'll redo the floors. We'll get everything painted. We'll redo the carpet. Retile the lodge room. Redo the walls. Yada 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 yada. Right? Like if you need inspiration for what you can do in your lodge space, go to Hillcrest, right? Or go to San Marcos. Go to one of those. Like if you're just kind of stumped, like I just don't have the creativity to know
I
how I can
tell you
make this
what,
building
Oso
nicer.
Lodge is pretty nice. Oso Lodge is pretty nice too. They have some awesome murals,
Didn't we
and they
go?
really
Didn't
do.
we go there? It's the one in Corpus, right? Is that the one we took the picture in front
Uh,
of?
yes, we took the picture in front of it, but yeah, inside they have murals all across the walls and up on the ceiling. It's a hidden gem. It really is.
Yeah. We got a
But that
few.
building is so mysterious, isn't it cool? It's
Yeah.
like right there all by itself in around, surrounded by just all kinds of garbage, and then there's this one mysterious dark building right there. It's so cool. I love that building.
We have a few comments we need to address.
Yes, let's do it.
I'm just gonna go through. Charles Smith says it's a great agreement that helps everyone. Uh, Going in with a dependent body that helps share the cost in space is fantastic. Yeah, dependent bodies also can help with that. David Lawson says they're in the process of selling their building and building a smaller, more affordable place. Okay. Oscar
Nice.
Cordova, and this is not the last one I want to address, but this is Oscar Cordova says. Let me just go over them all, and we'll just answer them. Okay. Oscar
Okay.
says.
I want to take David.
So
Go
what?
ahead.
What are your thoughts if 70% of the members are endowed? What then? And then Adam Olivier says, this discussion of dues reminded me of something. Do you think that large swaths of Texas masonry is having a crisis of purpose? I mean, they're all good. So.
Whew, man, this is a good show.
Yeah, like,
I'm glad that you guys are on because these are good questions. I just want to say just one quick thing. Good for you, David Lawson, and your lodge for making the decision to support your lodge going further. I would like to add, and in some areas you just can't do it because downtown is way too expensive for the property that you get. But I I think sometimes if it's smaller, you move closer into the public eye do with that new building or that new space that you get. Take it into a business area or whatever so that the people that could support your lodge would be able to see your lodge and not move out into the country and build a little bitty metal building like Justin was saying, even though I have seen some nice ones. But just as a note, that's how I personally feel it would serve the community better and yourself better if it's in a place. It may be smaller, that's fine, but have it in a place that's visible, and so you're a nice addition to that neighborhood, that area, and it'll make an impression. Just moving in is going to make.
yeah. So many lodges were built with way more numbers in mind, right? And so, if I mean, I was at a lodge not long ago, and I'm looking around. It's like it's a great lodge, great brothers, but you look around, and it's 90% empty, right? It's like there's really no reason to have such a big lodge room.
Right.
Really no reason to have such a big lodge. Even if you
Looking for that next heyday.
yeah, I mean, even if you want to say, hey, this is the lodge we're all going to start meeting at, and we're just going to consolidate. We're not going to merge. We're just going to consolidate our charters here. It doesn't have to be huge. I mean, I said the biggest place, but it doesn't have to be massive. It just has to be big enough because, I mean, frankly, a smaller, more intimate building that looks full, right? A smaller, more intimate lodge room that looks full, it probably is more impressionable than the guy looking around and seeing like 90% of the chairs are empty. I'll answer Oscar's, and then if you want to ask Adams, we'll go there. So Adam Cordova, just a reminder, he says, "What are your thoughts if 70% of your members are endowed? What then?" Did you have to make decisions as though you don't have 70% of your members, basically? I mean, we're talking financial decisions. It really depends. First of all, it depends on what your endowments are set at. If it's at like most lodges still set at $500. You're just gonna have to just make your financial decisions as though you don't have 70% of your members, and say, look, we're gonna. And it sucks because it means the dues are going to be significantly higher, and it also means you're going to have to increase your endowments before you raise your dues, and so it puts you in a situation. But I remember going to a lodge. It was in Venus, Texas, and I can tell you this because it's no more. And I went in there, and it was downtown, in one of the old downtown buildings, pretty much falling apart. And you go in there, and one of the lodge walls, and I'm not exaggerating, from top to bottom, the entire wall is covered in endowed memberships. And the story I was told is there was a brother that had quite a bit of money, and he thought he was doing the lodge a big favor, and he bought everybody an endowment, everybody. And this was right around the time we're kind of spoiled now because we're guaranteed a return. There wasn't always a guaranteed return, and this was during the time where I think there was a number of years where there was no return at all, but you still had to pay per capita. And so financially, this lodge, I mean, the building was falling apart. The membership was aging, and I mean, you can't attract people with aging membership and a falling apart lodge, and they have no way to fix it. I mean, even if they had the money, they didn't have the human resources to fix the place. And so that's just kind of my doom and gloom story about endowments. So don't let it get more. I mean, you need to raise your endowments where they're high enough to cover, where the returns are high enough to cover your what your dues are at that time. And if you need help with that, I'll help you. or at least high enough to kind of discourage people from endowing, and then you need to raise your dues, or you find a new building to meet at. Um, that's my thoughts anyway.
I was saying earlier that I was talking to,
I'll be right
my
back.
Blue
I'm gonna get
Lodge
a
mentor.
lozenge.
Okay. I was talking to my Blue Lodge mentor this weekend, and we were talking about all that, as a matter of fact. Um, and he said, and this brother's like 84 years old now. And he said, when all that came out, all of our members were 80 plus years old. So it was a great idea for everybody to buy them as much as they could. Now we have more passed away endowed members than we have living endowed members. So it supports the lodge. It helps the lodge. And for Goliad, it really does. I mean, we have some heavy endowments. He said, but still, in today's climate, my grandson and I, he just raised his grandson not too long ago. He said, my grandson and I are each year we're buying an extra $100 towards our endowment each year. So it's not a set amount that they want to get to. They've just committed that every year they buy an extra $100 towards their endowment to support the lodge. So instead of, especially because this lodge, the dues are too low. And that was something else we were talking about. And he said, yes, and the dues need to be X number minimum. I said, yeah, what we need to do is have them actually look at the lecture I gave on on doing a proper audit of your lodge and figuring out the true number that you should be at, and not some pie in the sky. Well, I think we'll raise it by $50. So if we raise it by $25, it'll help us for so long. That's pie in the sky if you don't put the numbers to work. So we were actually talking about all that, and anybody that has an endowment, because in the time it was a good idea with what the program that they had, and at that time it was 15 times the annual dues of the lodge, the average annual dues, and so that's why it is at 500, even though they haven't changed. But at that time it was a good thing because all the members were already 80 years old and they were looking at them passing away. That's why they did it, was to support the buildings, because they were passing and they knew that they were passing. So it was like putting in their last will and testament. But now we're in a different climate. So anybody that has an endowment, they need to add to it every year like clockwork to make sure that they're contributing heavily to the lodge, because that endowment can kill the lodge. And just getting enough to cover the per capita, that's not fair to the lodge, because really the lodge needs extra to pay for the building, to pay for the toilet paper, to pay for cleaning materials. They have all this stuff to pay for.
If they only needed enough to cover per capita, then they charge the minimum. Right.
Right.
I mean,
right.
there's a reason.
Well,
there's a reason someone did the math to determine what the dues need to be.
Right. So, anyways, like I said, my mentor, my Blue Lodge mentor, 80 something years old, and he's straight up telling me our dues should be a lot higher than they are, and basically it's double what they are now. He stated that should be a minimum, that it should be double what it is now. And on top of that, anybody with an endowment that's living today should be spending an extra $100 a year towards that endowment to make sure that it's worth its weight in gold, instead of just being enough. That's the bare minimum where it is now. So we need to make it up here to where we're giving an and then some attitude to our dues and our endowments. That came from my mentor, and he says, we're a part of a country lodge. We just can't afford a whole lot, but we got to do this.
Sounds wise. Let's address Adam's comment. This discussion of dues reminded me of something. Do you think large swaths of Texas masonry is having a crisis of purpose? Yes. Okay, next question.
Oh, that I
You go ahead
that's a
and then
tough
I'll
one there.
piggyback. Oh, never mind. I'll go first because
After
I'll
after the talk with Park, I've actually changed my skills a little bit.
with who?
So if yours stayed the same, then you go ahead.
Oh, with Park.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I
And I'm gonna call you out if you use some of his
no, I won't.
stuff.
Well, there's a mentality like I'm not attributing it to anybody directly, but like there's a mentality that Freemasonry has different aspects. So like you can have a lodge that they want to focus strongly on fundraising, and then you have another lodge that wants to focus strongly on the fraternal aspects, and then you have a lodge that wants to focus strongly on education and esoteric. I think my belief is there is a place for all these things, but I think a lot of these things have been kind of bastardized. And what I mean by that is charity, Masonic charity, is should first and foremost be to your brothers, right? If you have a brother that is in need, that's where we come in, okay? If you have if you want to do scholarships or something like that, then I personally like ideally that's for your brothers. That's for brother Masons. The scholarships are
Yeah.
for brother Masons, or not just them directly, but their kids or grandkids, things like that. And
Yes, and
if no one applies, then okay, we'll just roll over the money till next year. If you
that's a good idea.
if you want to do something for the community, again, I don't have a problem with that, but I don't think you need to. That's not a call to arm to fry fish, right? So, for example, the York Rite in Hillsborough, we collected a whole bunch of toiletries for homeless veterans. We didn't do a fish fry, right? We didn't do raffle tickets. We said, hey, this is what we're collecting. If everybody will bring a few things for the next meeting, and I posted pictures. I don't. Well, if it was on Masonic Improvement, it's not there anymore. But I think I posted it. Adam, I'm sure you saw it, or I'm sure you're on my friends list anyway. Looked at my friends list. I shared it. Like we got a whole table full of toiletries. That's charity. That's Masonic charity. Like if you wanna help somebody out, then donate money or buy the thing and bring it to lodge and donate it, right?
Send a care package up to the Masonic retirement home.
And likewise,
That's a good charity.
like the fraternal aspect. Go have a festive board. Go have a family meal night with your brothers at a restaurant or something. If you want to do esoterics and stuff like that, by all means. And that kind of leads to where I'm going. I think the focus, we say we take good men and make them better, right? Frying fish doesn't make you better, right? Hanging out with better men makes you better. Education makes you better. And esoterics, when you internalize these things, they make you better, right? It's like, and I will copy what Robert Park said. If you just study esoteric but you don't improve yourself, that's just intellectual masturbation, right? I love that quote. So you can copy all of that.
You suck. I'll just say this quote for myself. You suck because I was going to use that. I told him I was going to use it tonight.
You told me?
I got permission from the author.
Mm. and so the focus of your lodge, I think first and foremost should be education. And I say education because it could be just how to run an organization. It could be how to tie a tie. It could be diving into tarot, right? I think esoterics
should all be related to Freemasonry.
It should be.
Not
in that
just
context.
some generic education. I'm not big on some of those that are going around.
Oh, I haven't seen any. But esoteric support, and definitely spend time with your brothers outside the lodge and outside the lodge environment is important. So really, I guess the least important thing, and probably the thing I care less the least about, is like fundraising and stuff like that. I think if your lodge is focused primarily on that, and there are some brothers in my district that they'd probably be upset, but I think you've lost your focus. I think you've lost your purpose because you're functioning as a really highly successful Rotary or a highly successful Lions Club, but you're not functioning as a highly successful Masonic lodge. You're high profile, which is nice, I guess. But you're not practicing. You're so focused on your fundraising that you're not really practicing your Freemasonry. Now I'll abdicate the floor to Dennis.
Let me wake up from my nap. I guess the intellectual masturbation woke me up from my nap. Speaking directly to your question on purpose, um, that is something that we covered with Park, and it is very difficult because you do have the micro and the macro that we're dealing with. You know, micro being your lodge culture. You have to have vision. You have to know what your culture is, and aim your events towards that culture, right? So that it harnesses what your members are going to thrive with. And but at the same time, you do have to offer a little bit of everything, but you can have a main focus on something like education or fellowship or whatever. You know, the more successful lodges, they do have a little bit of everything going on, but they do have a tendency to focus more on education because that dives into so many different areas that it's going to have to improve you if you listen. You're going to get it through osmosis if you're even present. And so a lot of the more successful lodges, they do focus on that kind of stuff and not so much on the philanthropy and all that. That being said, on the macro side, with Grand Lodge in general, with Freemasonry in general, I have this problem speaking in generalized terms for Freemasonry because I do believe that we've lost a lot of our purpose and focus on a Grand Lodge level. It's it's and I'm going to circle back to talking about how important it is to take care of our brothers and supporting them first. That's one of the things that should be our focus. Talking about taking care of the widows and orphans. That should be our focus. And that should be on a macro and a micro level, but it's not. The only part of that really is happening is on a macro level with some of the charities, some of the offset charities that are provided for. But that's like a church, like a pastor that instead of dealing with the poverty and stuff in his own community, is given to the church in Uganda, given funds to the church in Uganda.
And posting about it,
And
telling him what a good church he has, what a good preacher he is.
right, well, and not that he's a bad preacher, not that they don't need it over there, right? But there comes a time when you got to sit back and think, well, we really need it more than those around us at this point. We need to take care of ourselves, build ourselves up. Our purpose should be building each other and our lodges up first. And it sounds selfish, but what good are we to the rest of the world if we're just a bunch of lazy, self-serving people? And that's the reality. Now I know that we don't have that within our fraternity. We have a lot of outgoing, outstanding members and brothers, and we do so much good all around the world. But to some degree, we have lost the intent and the focus that we used to have on the brothers first. Back before there were insurance companies and all this other kind of, public welfare and all that to take care of the public education. Our job was to take care of and increase our brothers and their families. Mm-hmm. And we've gotten away from that. And I think that's where we need to reshift our focus. But, it's tough when you're dealing on the micro and macro. And I certainly appreciate that question because that's a big one right now. That's one of the biggest ones because we don't have the purpose and the focus that we once had. There's a lot of infighting and backbiting going on in our fraternity right now. There's a lot of division right now because everybody's mindset is going in different directions because there's not one common goal.
Well, it's less how can I help my brothers and more how can I help myself.
Yeah,
We're seeing so
and
much
make
of
it
that.
appear like and make it appear like I'm doing good for them.
Yeah, but if you think about it, like if we've gotten
And I'm
away
not
from
saying
it.
that's all brothers either.
No,
I
it's not
just
all
want to say
brothers, but we've gotten away from it. You used to see this all the time, like the Masons would help each other out. That's why we kind of certain
no.
like the conspiracy theorists think that we do this because we used to actually help each other out. We would prioritize each other. Um, Granted, if you're a brother and you were just had a terrible reputation, I mean, no, you still would get the job. But if you're a brother in good standing and you knew each other, you had a lot higher chance of getting a job, right? And what would happen is it's like this the saying standing on the shoulder of giants, but you keep stepping up. Like everyone in the lodge just keeps helping each other out, stepping each other up, and before you know it, you have leaders in the community that are they have the finances and the time to give back and contribute. And we have to get kind of back into the habit of being willing to build one another up and support each other. Because if good people aren't helping one another out and supporting one another, the bad people are, right? And that's kind of what got us in a situation because we got so scared of looking like we're playing favorites that even though the other side, the I say the other side, but the bad people out there, they're not afraid of it, right? But we're so scared of looking like we're playing favorites and building up good people that, well, I mean, watch the news if you don't know how the world is right now. Let's see. We got a
Any
few
more
more.
comments?
Yeah, we got to catch up. So Charles Smith. So 50-year and endowment members do affect some of the bottom line, but you could always set endowments appropriately and dues according to your budget. Absolutely agree. David Lawson says they're talking to Mascat Shrine to buy part of the property. They have over 10,000 square feet and about 15 active members. So yeah, it's probably time to downgrade. Charles Smith
Yeah.
says, I know endowments are viewed harshly right now, but I view it as insurance. I still pay and contribute more than the dues I would pay anyway. But if anything happened to me, my dues are still covered. When the market went south in 2008, there were no returns for several years. Before the returns were much higher. Yeah, the thing is, and I don't disagree, and I applaud you for doing that, Charles. Most people don't, right? Because if you look at the
That's
law
not what
book,
they signed up for.
that's
That's
not what
not
they
what they
signed
were
up for,
sold.
and it's not what the law book says. The law book says you're free. You don't ever have to pay dues again. So they look at it as a one-time thing, and they wipe their hands and they're done, and they don't even cover the per capita most of the time. And yeah, if everybody did what you do, man, I got a dry throat this evening. If everybody did what you're talking about, yeah, I mean the conversation probably wouldn't even have to take place, but they don't, and that's why because they look at the endowments and the endowments are sold as one and done. We sell it that way. We sell it as one and done, and that's what gets us where we are.
I
Riz-
I would say that especially in the small lodges, in the rural areas of Texas, you're going to see a lot of people that do the exact same thing as you. I do it. I have the endowment simply because I forget to write checks. I forget. My wife handles most of the finances. I look at what needs to get done and say, okay, this, and she takes care of it. But I forget. And so I would rather it be paid for and then I just contribute whatever I'm going to contribute. But I can assure you that I have given more than my fair share to Freemasonry for sure. For sure. So it's not like I'm, just a one and done guy. And I know you're not either. And I think that's anybody that has an endowment should be that way. Um, but I think at the same time, like you were saying, with you give more than your dues every year, anyways. Um, you might want to think about rebudgeting that to where you do start putting an extra 100 towards the endowment, and then go ahead and give that other part to the lodge or whatever. but do that every year so that it continues to build it up and really become a really big asset to that lodge long term. I mean, think about having $10,000 asset going to your lodge every year. That's a big deal. That's not a $500 endowment, and you can do that $100 a year because you're young like I am, and it'll make a difference by the time you get to the age that you have your 50 year or you age out and you go to the next level. It's gonna be a real benefit to the lodge at that time, and that's something to consider. That's where I think the endowment program is really a beautiful thing if it's done well with the good intention of the brother.
Yep.
It can be harmful if it's done with people that say, "Oh, hey, I was sold one and done. That's all I'm doing." The lodge has to figure it out from there.
Yep.
Which they have every right to. They have every right to, and they should.
Adam Olivier, let's get a few more. Let's get caught up. Adam Olivier says, well, first of all, Jason Rockenberg says spreadsheets. You have to have spreadsheets. So you need spreadsheets for all these things. You must. You must excel at Excel, or you will not do well. But Adam Olivier,
you'll know where you're at if you.
No, yeah, I agree. He says doing scholarships for Texas Masons is a great idea, and well, thank you very much. But I think
that was my idea originally.
But I think
2 weeks ago I said it. No. I'll take credit.
Okay, that's
I'm
fine.
I'm not going to let him talk again.
If you need credit, you can have credit.
Until he admits it. It was me that came up with that idea.
So you're not going to let me talk, so it'll be like a normal. Anyway.
So it's going to be another.
Charles Smith says, honestly, I don't get the hate for fundraisers. Some of the organizations I'm a member of have fun events that help out some great charities, while those donating, Mason or not, have fun time. The problem is most fundraisers are not fun, right? And
they have a lot of fun and love. So I get it.
I think that a lot of fundraisers, they get to become the focus, and that's all that gets talked about. I'm not exaggerating. I've seen it. That's all that gets talked about. But like you also said, I don't think fundraisers should be the main focus, but I have a problem with the occasional event. I don't have a problem with the occasional event either. Like if you have an annual, like my lodge does an annual fish fry, right? And so if you have something like, and one of my other lodges, they do annual barbecue. It's like if you absolutely feel like you have to do something, right? Like something at least once a year. If you got to do something once a year, if you don't feel like you're doing something productive unless you're out there working with your hands, which I get that. Some people are like that. Fine. Do your annual fundraiser, and that money can go to supplement your charitable what's that?
Contributions.
Your charitable contributions or something. Yeah, you could use that to pump up those numbers some more. But don't just do the one, two at the most. Do it the entire year, and don't do anything more than that. And let your fundraiser committee handle the conversations. They just report back to what's happening, right? Don't have those entire conversations. Let them dominate your Masonic your lodge meetings.
I would like to say on that, my favorite, and I'm going to go back to something that Timothy Fleischer said, and I love the intent that he gave when he spoke on it on Facebook, that he enjoys the fundraiser and the fish fry and having the families come in and talking with the little, the granddaughter of a Mason and her being in awe of all the neat stuff that's all around and being able to share that one-on-one time. Those are the ones that, and I love it. And he said that in contradiction to a post that I gave. Well, I don't think it was. He did a separate one by himself, but I knew that he was talking about me because we had been promoting quite a bit of stop doing fundraisers, stop making that your intent. And so he wanted to, and I always use fish fry because we do that so often in Texas. Oh my gosh. And I love fish. I grew up on it, but not at every lodge. But anyways,
I mean, I would say do a dinner or something then, if you want to get with everybody.
But what I was going to say before you capitalize on my time.
I'm not going to let you speak until you admit that's my idea just now.
Was my favorite lodge fundraiser is over in Victoria, and it's kind of shared between Victoria and Goliad, but it's a Valentine's dinner that we have once a year, and we make ribeye steaks, potatoes, and groceries, and basically we sell tickets to ourselves and our family and a few visitors if they like to come and take their own wives out to dinner with us. Um,
What do
it's a
y'all eat?
Valentine dinner,
What do y'all eat?
huh?
What do y'all eat?
Ribeyes, and potato salad, and we don't usually have green beans there.
Have you considered just cooking them and putting them in like a to-go box and people just pick them up and take them?
That's what I was gonna say though. Now you're pissing me off. That's the same thing with the fish fries. Is that is that when they started doing that because of COVID, they started doing that, and now they do it regularly to where you can come in and eat, or you can get it to go. And I'm not down with that. That's not the fundraiser that I signed up for. Mine was for a dinner for us to all get together and fellowship, support each other, support our charities, and show our wives some appreciation at the same time. The Eastern Star would make some great desserts for us, and we also have silent auctions. We no longer have the silent auctions. We now only have half the desserts that we ever had, or even a third of the desserts that we used to have for the event. And it's only a handful of brothers and their wives that actually sit down and eat dinner. It's not it's not what it originally was intended for, which was family and showing that brotherly love and affection to each other and our wives by treating them, and we were cooking for them, and we cook all of them. We go and we get all the ribeyes, and we buy the big old slab of ribeyes and cut them up, and then cook them on the grill outside, and man, it took all the intent. Those foam freaking containers took all the intent from that good time for our families in raising funds for our charity from our own hearts, not from the communities. It took all of that away in just 1 year, and it hasn't changed since. I don't like to go anymore, and I definitely don't support the fish fries anymore because of that, because that's what they're doing now. They set up a little tent outside of the lodge, and it's just like a drive-through, and people are just picking up. That's I'm not down with that. That's not what it was intended for.
Yeah.
That's not what that kind of an event was supposed to be. It's not supposed to be a fast food drive-through. It's supposed to be where we get together and fellowship.
Well, you get to a point where if you're and I've said this before, if most of your finances are coming from food, you're a restaurant. You're not a lodge, right? Yeah, I mean, if
You're competing with other real businesses too.
yeah, absolutely.
If you're doing it too often.
Yeah, that's a good point too. All right, man. Well, we've been at this an hour and a half. It's 10:30 at night.
Is Charles still on?
He commented last, but it's been a while, so I don't know if he's still on here. Charles, if you're still on, will you
I just wanted to say that those brothers, they do have a lot of good fun and fellowship with all of their deals. It's not just about churning out money.
Yeah.
They really do have a lot of fun and fellowship with all the things that they do.
Yeah.
Almost everything they do is surrounded is with the focus of family. It really is.
That's good.
They got it going on up there in Lubbock. I'm telling you.
I think there's, and I'm just speaking personally, while we're seeing if Charles is still here. I think there's kind of a line. Like one of my lodges that I recently joined, like a lot of the guys there, they bring their families, like their wives and their kids, to every meeting, and I'm not big on that. Like I'm not big on trying to have a lodge meeting, hear kids screaming in the other room and stuff like that. But I do think there should be time and place to definitely incorporate the family, right, and have the family meet one another and spend time with one another and things like that. But I'm also, by the same token, I'm like, it's the only lodge I've ever been to. Okay, yes, Charles is still here. Did you have something?
No,
Charles?
I just wanted him to know that I truly love what they're
Oh.
doing up there, and that I knew that he wasn't part of the stuff that we're against. I knew that because everything they do involves family.
Yeah, I'm just speaking general. No, I've never
And
been to a
I
lodge.
gotta say,
Go ahead.
that I have no problem with family coming for dinner and stuff. If you have no control over your kids, no, don't take them. But if you have a nice family that's respectful of everybody's space and time and all that, then yeah, bring them up. Let them eat dinner with you. Who cares?
I don't mind if you like want to bring your wife. I guess it's just yeah. If your kids are unruly, just like my kids are unruly, I'll tell you, my kids are crazy little savage little wild animals. And I brought them to a lodge once, and that's the only time I'm ever going to do it for a long time until they're older, savage, wild teenagers. Um, but I know this. I know this, and it doesn't offend me. They don't need to be in lodge when we're meeting. If you can't keep your kids under control, keep them at home. I mean, if they're well behaved, then sure. I mean, fine, that's fine. And I don't mind if you bring your wife and your wife wants to eat with us or whatever, or your brother or anything like that. I don't mind if you bring your family as long as I just don't. I don't like being in degrees in things that are supposed to be like solemn, right? And you're having a solemn moment and you got kids screaming in the next room and you can hear
Well,
it.
that shouldn't happen. Family shouldn't be around during that time anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole different ball of wax. But I can tell you that, and it's a little bit easier with just having Sarah now. But we raised Sarah going to all these big events. She's been to more balls and high end benefits than most adults. I can tell you, she's been to more of those than most adults, and she presents herself as such. So I have no problem taking her anywhere. And when she goes up to Lubbock, she loves Brother Smith's kids. I mean, she looks forward to it. She loves Brother Batter's kids. I mean, we look forward to the kids getting together and spending time together because even though the world changes and we move and we do all kinds of things, this doesn't change. And so as we're traveling around visiting our brothers and their children and our kids are getting to know each other, they have those friendships that'll be there forever. And it's the same thing with your kids and my daughter. She can't wait to see them in September. She can't wait.
Mhm.
And that's the thing, is that they'll always have that connection and they'll always have those friends no matter what happens in the world around them. They can move to a new school or whatever, but they still got these friends that are always going to be there. Same thing with Dave Meckham's daughter, that Sarah loves her. She can't get enough of it. It's just that way. All the kids around the state, they're all friends. And man, nothing warms my heart more. And it's because we share the dinners together, share the events together, and
Yeah. Well, I told you
do those things.
my kids ask about your daughter all the time. Like all
I
the
know. I
time.
can't wait for them to get together.
Um, get together. We're gonna have like arranged marriage.
I got two other boys that are interested first. I'm telling you.
Hold on. Let's address some of these. Charles Smith says he lives by the West Texas motto: every event should have food, and you eat till you're full, and you leave hungry. It was your own fault. I wholeheartedly agree on that, Charles. Like every event should have food. It should be good quality food.
Yes,
It should be
I
a good
agree.
meal. Um,
I agree.
David Lawson says, "Great job as usual, brothers. It's great to hear different views and things to take back to my brothers here." And
Thank you. Thank
yes,
you for
appreciate
coming. We appreciate y'all showing up, making this what it is. I mean, if it was just us talking, it'd just be us talking. But
And of course,
y'all make it better.
Of course, Jason always has this profound insight. He says, most prefer Dennis's family to be there instead of him.
I knew it was going to be something. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Oscar Cordova says there's a fine line between family functions and Masonic fellowship. And Charles Smith says he disagrees with me. Family should be involved. You try to get them to behave, but he loves the sound of laughing kids in the next room. And I mean, it takes different folks, right? I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying.
And it depends on the type of event too. If you're having a solemn event, then yeah, you don't need to have that in the background. causing disruption. But if it's not, then absolutely, man. My favorite moments are hearing the kids squealing and having fun and laughing. That's awesome.
Yeah. Maybe it's just because I hear it all the time at home. And so if I'm going to lodge, I want to not hear it for a
you just
while.
don't want to hear your kids
Yeah.
squealing.
I don't want to hear any kids scream. I don't hear any of it. That's my quiet place. So maybe it's just because I'm
funny.
biased, Charles. Maybe I'm just because I got 3 kids at home. They're young. So and you think I'd be able to tune it out by now, but I don't. Do you have any final thoughts, Dennis?
This has been a great talk. It really has.
They
I've
usually
enjoyed
are.
it.
They usually are.
I think that we've covered a lot of good topics, and I'm grateful for the brothers coming on, and even more grateful that they come on and they're not afraid to ask those hard questions that are going to get us talking about, those hard solutions or
really
those just
enjoyed
the hard
these questions.
debates.
Yeah, these were great questions tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's easier for us to debate online and than for us to debate in the lodge, right?
Mhm.
So
Intellectual
I
or
love
not.
these.
Oh wait, debate. Never mind.
I love having these talks and having these hard questions because I think I feel closer to you brothers that are online with us. I feel closer to you by spending this time and talking about these things.
Yeah. I'm trying to see what Charles said to want their own. I'm not sure what that is. Yeah, I'll just wrap up like I mean, echo you. This is great. Like this is what I want. I want the let's see. I had one never come to my lodge and be mad family was involved. He wanted it to be a man's only event. No, like I said, if you want to bring like wives and stuff for the meal, I mean I don't think that's a problem at all, right? If you have like brothers that you want to bring or friends that you want to bring, I think that the meal time is I think there probably are good times when it should just be the brothers, right? But I think in general, like for a business meeting or something, I mean bring whoever, right? And I guess my big irk is like during degrees and stuff, like when you got things being kind of nutty. But yeah, it says it sours him when there are people upset and they want to spend the time with their loved ones. I can respect that. I just like I said, I hear kids all the time, so maybe that's just why I notice it. Yeah. Oh, to each their own. I got you. So but I was going to say, what was I going to say? Yeah, so this was really good. Like the questions are great, the conversations are great. The it's fine. The topics, the conversations, this was great. So I thoroughly enjoyed this, and it's nice having a good live like this because we had kind of a lull for a while where they were really quiet. So it's good. I appreciate the feedback and the thoughts and everyone that hopped in and gave their thoughts on that. I'll go ahead and be sure to mention, if you haven't listened to our latest video that dropped today, Robert Park. It's great. It's a great video. It's a full video. It's out there. Listen to it. If you're on Spotify, hopefully it's out there yet. I released it earlier. But it's definitely on YouTube. Listen to it on YouTube or watch it on your way to work tomorrow. It's great stuff. If you haven't got a ticket to the summit yet, be sure you... Dang, I'm getting dry. If you haven't got a ticket to the summit yet, be sure you do so. We still got plenty. They're going. But at the moment, we still have plenty. I'll actually post the link real quick. And well, I'm logged out.
We have Park is the last interview that we're doing for the summit. We have 2 more people that are going to be speaking. One is going to be a big question mark, so that y'all get to see once you get there. He's going to be having a discussion on during the festive board, and he's more of a questions answer kind of guy. he reads the room and talks to the room and just sees where the conversation goes. I really love the way that he presents his talks. Yep. The other one is an actual speaker for the summit itself, and we're going to announce him next week.
Yep.
We won't. It's not going to be in video form. We're just going to announce him, and I think that you're going to be extremely stoked when you see the full lineup. And we're fixing to have a big banner with all the speakers in there, and that way you will get a good feel for really the value that's coming out of this program. And not to mention the Festa board, and not to mention the master's degree. Pretty soon we will have an interview with Brother Mike King and one of the members of the Knights of Mecca, one of the other members of the Knights of Mecca, probably what's his name? KC?
I don't know.
Their initials, and I always get them wrong. I don't want to do that. I'm not going to butcher it. But anyways, because the Knights of Mecca are going to be coming down to do the actual degree, and like we were saying early in the program, when they do a degree, it is exactly what Texas ritual is per the Committee on Work. So you're going to see the degree exactly as it is supposed to be given aboard the Lexington. So it's going to be a great event.
Yeah. Jason says, and hey, you even got a shout out from Grad Lodge. So that's how you know we're doing things right. We got a shout out from Grad Lodge.
Oh yeah, he sent me that thing that came on the secretary's letter,
mm-hmm.
where it said this is not a program. It doesn't meet the qualifications for the basically, if you're a master, you have to have certain qualifications.
Yeah.
And they put it out there on the monthly communication that this doesn't qualify for that. And no, we never intended for anybody to think it did. This is completely different.
Which is odd, because I don't think they do that with Masonic or anything, and we never claimed to be a replacement for OLT or anything like that. So maybe it's just because it's the same day historically, because OLT used to be on the same day as the Lexington, and they moved it.
Or because we got so many big leaders coming in to give some big talks.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
On leadership. This is a summit on leadership. It's not about your nuts and bolts. There's a little bit of talk around your lodge, about your lodge, and also esoteric wise and other and historic wise. But this is for leaders. This is if you want to be a leader, if you are a leader, if you want to be a leader, if you want to meet the leaders around our state as well as the states around us, they're going to be at this event. Yeah. And that's a fact. And you're going to have one-on-one time. After we're all done with the day, we're all going to be sitting around drinking scotch or wine or rum, for a couple of them that I know for sure. And we're going to be just hashing out Freemasonry, just talking about all the things that are on our hearts. And so, man, you want to expand on, if you feel like you're on an island, like we always say, and you're not getting the Freemasonry that you're looking for in your lodge or even within your district, this is the kind of event you go to expand your circles and expand the people that you know that are like-minded, that will inspire you, challenge you, and help you to become that better Mason, that better man and better Mason that you want to be.
I would even say if things are feeling stagnant for you or in your lodge, or maybe you're just not feeling inspired right now, this will fix that. You'll fix it.
Oh yeah. That's what this is all about.
Yeah, and so it's something for everybody, unless you want fundraiser ideas. But other than that, definitely leadership. There's a little nuts and bolts.
Well, there's going to be a silent auction here.
Well, I'm not going to teach you how to do that. But
that's my idea of a fundraiser: a silent auction at one of our events that our members are supporting. They donated to it. They're supporting it. That's the kind of fundraiser I believe in.
But I agree. Everything presented will be from a leadership perspective, right? And that's not to say you don't have to feel like you're. If you don't feel like you're not a leader, so it doesn't apply to you, right? It applies to you. Like this is, you could be a leader without being in an office, right? And leaders are built; they're not necessarily born, in my opinion. And so, if you
Yes, we need mentors.
yes, so this is great for everybody. It's going to be a great time. And Charles Smith says, "Have a good night, brothers. I hope you all have a fantastic evening." And back at you, brother.
Take
Oscar
care,
Cordova
brother.
says, "Great topics. Great
Love
show
you,
as
Charles.
always." Jason's talking about Scotch now. Scotch. He says to leave the wine in your purse, Dennis. So he's got a
Oh
big
my
box. He has a
gosh.
box of wine. He keeps in his backpack. He has one of those Camelbacks with a big straw. It's just full of wine.
What's funny is I do have, well, I don't have that, but I have a backpack that's made for carrying wine.
I bet you do. Oscar says he'll see us there. He's excited. See what the event has to offer. Likewise, Oscar and Adam Olivier. Great show. Great to hear from y'all. Likewise, Adam. So with that, we are
Yes,
wrapping that
absolutely.
up for the week, and we have some
Keep
more,
it between the points,
got
brother.
some more stuff, good stuff coming up next week. Listen to Robert Park if you haven't. Get your ticket if you haven't, and we'll see you next week. Keep it between the points.